I've spent most of the past year on my rather ambitious solo project Summit, and although I haven't tracked exactly, I'm guessing to reach close to 1,000 hours on this very project. This includes coding, creating art assets, composing music, and of course coming up with ideas, designing the game, its world, its mechanics, its story, and so on. So although I've done several games in small teams and I'm currently working at a small game studio, most of my work in game development so far has been done solo. So I thought it's a good time to reflect a bit on what it means to be a solo game developer. Why would anyone do it? What are the upsides and what are the downsides? As you may have heard, making video games is hard. They're probably among the hardest, most complex things one could create. Why would any sane person choose to do it alone? As someone who likes building things, it's actually pretty easy to understand why. First, it's easy to start. You just need two things, your brain and a computer. You don't need a company, an office, a license, a team. As soon as you sit down and say you start a game, it's started. Fully creative freedom. You are the creative director, the art director, the lead programmer, and the CEO. You have full control over every single detail in the game, and you don't have to ask anybody for permission or advice. Best of all, there are no deadlines. Just take all the time you need. It's cheap and it's safe. Other than your own time, you don't have to pay anyone, you don't have to hire anyone. And it's not only financially safe, it's also emotionally safe. The best thing, you don't have to tell anyone that you're actually making a game. If you fail, if the game sucks, or if you get bored, just quit and don't tell anyone that you've even tried. Do these points sound interesting? Well, at least I think they should explain why it's so appealing to many people to start their own solo game projects. However, as you could probably imagine, many of these points actually become big obstacles as your project continues. Creating a video game alone may be one of the worst things to do. Let me tell you why. First, it's hard. Like really hard. Really hard. Like insanely hard. Not only do you need technical expertise in many different areas, it's also hard in terms of motivation. With your solo project, the single thing standing between finishing or abandoning it is you and your willpower. It's lonely. Most of the time there is no one helping you with tough challenges, or when you're stuck on a hard problem. There's no one who will truly see the hard work you put in behind the scenes. On the other hand, if your game is actually done, there's also no one with whom you can truly share your feelings of achievement with. The lack of creative symbiosis. You may have plenty of great ideas, but they would probably be much more worth when shared and refined with others. Without a regular exchange of ideas, you risk getting some kind of tunnel vision, where you constantly have to validate your own ideas and you may get blind to problems within your ideas and your game. Lack of management. With no one telling you what, when and how to do, all those responsibilities become yours. It's tempting to think you don't need any management if you're your own boss. However, a complete lack of planning will only further reduce your likelihood of actually finishing the game. Now, after those rather pessimistic points, let's quickly turn around and see why it is, after all, one of the best things you could do. Learning skills. I can't think of anything where I've learned more different skills at once than when developing games. Programming, 2D art, 3D art, design, architecture, composition, video editing, marketing, writing, the list could go on forever. Creative vision. For authors, it's still the most common way to work solo. Of course, books are less parallelizable to make than games, but still there's tremendous benefit in having a single creative vision and being able to fully realize that by yourself. Efficiency. Large teams are just less efficient than small ones. This is of course because the overhead of management and communication But even with just 2 people working together, you may have a lot of overhead, like discussing or even arguing about certain features, or having troubles with version control. And finally, it is an awesome feat of creativity. When you think about it, there are so many decisions which you make, so many little parts and details which in the end all play together to form a playable experience. The sheer amount of creativity you put in often seems completely overwhelming. And after finishing such a project, I think it's safe to say that you are truly a modern-day polymath. So after hearing all this, should you start a solo game project or not? It's probably impossible to give a definite answer, but if your alternative is not to make a game at all, you should certainly just start it. If you have a team ready or know a few people who would love to work with, go for it. Otherwise, just start alone and work out the rest as you build the game. Oh, and plan small. But that advice might just be useless because nobody is following it anyway. For me personally, after my almost 1,000 hours of solo project, I wish I would have gotten 1 or 2 people, especially a 2D artist / animator, who would have been incredibly useful. On the other hand, if I hopefully manage to finally finish the game, I think it will be pretty awesome to say that everything in the game comes out of my own hands. So no matter how many people you choose to work with, be sure to create something, ideally to finish it. Imagine people having fun playing your game, or even just you in a few years looking back at the awesome past work you did and how much you've improved so far. It's incredibly fulfilling. Thanks for watching. See you guys.